when you're watching Avengers Infinity War. Guys, this is when people talk about peak MCU, they talk about this movie, okay? This is the movie. 10 years of the MCU, 10 years since Iron Man, all of it building up to this moment, okay, where Thanos invades Earth, where Thanos comes for all of the Infinity Stones. This is the movie. And let me tell you, you just had to be there, all right? The hype surrounding this movie, okay? When the trailer released, after everything that they've been through, the build-up and build-up and build-up of everything, it was just so important. It was so real. It was so powerful. Everything kind of was like being looked at and analyzed, and everybody was so excited about what was going to happen, you know? It's one of those movies that you can't miss. And it is that movie. It is that good. So I remember watching it like 4 times in theaters, which I know seems like a lot, and it probably was, but it was just that good. You know, it was just that great of a movie that you had to witness it again. You had to see every little interaction and experience it, you know? I think that this movie puts together the scenes beautifully. Like, it just transitions so well to the next scene and how it all flows. Like, the flow of the movie just feels so good and so great. And I feel like at times when the story maybe slows down, it needs to slow down. And then when it picks up, it has like a good energy to it. I think they did it all so well, and everybody was so in character, and everybody was so different but the same, and it flowed very well. And it's one of those movies where you watch it and you're just like, wow, you know, you get in it right away, you know? So now I think the best way for me to kind of, I don't know, sort of, I guess, divide. If I'm going to talk about this movie in totality, I guess I have to separate it into like 3 different like people, or like people in the movie who you can attribute, or you can kind of look at and be like, okay, this is their part, and then their part, and then their part. So the first person is Thor. Thor in this movie has never been better. This is his best oh my gosh, it's just him at his best. I truly feel like Chris Hemsworth, what the Russo brothers did, what Taika Waititi did with Thor Ragnarok, and how he comes into this movie is just the best he's ever been. It's truly great. And so Thor, after coming off Thor Ragnarok, his planet is destroyed and he's coming to Earth and he gets stopped by Thanos, and essentially their ship is whole destroyed, ruined. Thor is beaten, Loki's kind of like held hostage, and we don't know where the Hulk is, right? And so Thor is now like holding on for dear life, basically. He's kind of like beaten, destroyed, whatever. And Loki has the Tesseract, which is what Thanos wants. So Loki offers it up. Thanos, well, he gets beaten up by the Hulk, and then he beats up the Hulk, and then Loki tries to kill him. Thanos kills Loki. You know, there's so many spoilers for this movie, by the way. I don't feel like breaking down every single little thing that happens in this movie, but I do feel like it's probably best for you just to watch it yourself. But anyways, Thor in this movie, he not only loses Loki, he loses Heimdall, which is like such a huge loss because Idris Elba is such a great actor, and I feel like they didn't really utilize him in the Thor franchise. So it was just like, what a waste, you know what I mean? But anyways, Thor is then left discarded with Thanos getting 2 Infinity Stones, and now, you know, basically Thanos gets away with 2 Infinity Stones, and Thor's left for dead on a ship with his brother, and it explodes, and he's out there, okay? And in this movie, you will find out that basically, we'll get to that. Next, we cut over to Tony Stark. All right, he's the second person that we can kind of follow throughout the whole movie, I guess. We actually Hulk gets sent to Earth. Well, Bruce does. And then he meets Doctor Strange. He tells him Thanos is coming. And then we cut over to Tony Stark, okay? And essentially, they meet up. They explain the Infinity Stones to Tony. Bruce tells him that Thanos is coming. He's the one who sent Loki and attacked New York and everything like that. So now it's go time. It's time to get started. It's time to fight. And they have the idea of destroying the Time Stone, but they don't want to destroy the Time Stone. They have to keep their oath to protect it. So it's kind of like they could, but they won't. You know what I mean? And that's ultimately, I guess, their downfall, their pride. Anyways, they get invaded by Ebony Maw and the big one. I forget his name. I'm just gonna refer to it as the big one. Okay, so Ebony Maw starts coming after them, and Bruce can't transform into the Hulk anymore. So then it's Tony with his nanobot Iron Man suit, which was awesome, by the way. I was just like, whoa, that is so cool. I'm glad that they gave him that upgrade. I'm really happy that they did that. It makes him change things about his suit, and it just makes him a lot more powerful, I think, and giving him the nanobot Iron Man suit upgrade was really cool. So I'm not upset about it. And so we see Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Wong all fighting, and we see Bruce kind of like reacting to everything and being like, whoa, whoa. You know, I thought that was funny. And then we get a little bit of when the aliens come to invade Earth, we see Spider-Man get like his spidey senses start tingling and his hairs go up on his arm, and he looks out and he notices that there's an alien spaceship. And then he comes after them, and then he helps out Tony. I thought that was so cool when he caught the big one's like hammer thing, and he was like, hey man, you know, that was a great moment. So then they keep on fighting, and then eventually Spider-Man has to like save Doctor Strange. And they get beamed up to the spaceship. Spider-Man is like on the spaceship itself, not inside of it. And what essentially happens is he's running out of breath because he can't breathe that high up in the atmosphere. So then he gets caught by his new Iron Spider suit that Tony made in like Spider-Man Homecoming, and that keeps him alive long enough to like be sent back down to Earth. And so Tony gets on the spaceship and they're on their way. But not before Spider-Man sneaks inside and basically stows away with them. So anyways, now the third person that we can look at is basically Vision. Vision and Wanda are the next group of people that we can like follow. So it's Thor, Tony Stark, Wanda, and Vision, okay? So with Wanda and Vision, we see that they have a little relationship going, you know, it's happy times. And they're like, it feels good to be in love. Let's make promises to each other. And then the aliens, I think the girl is named Proxima Midnight, and then the guy is named I truly can't remember. I know he just has like the sword or whatever. I don't remember. But he stabs Vision and he can't face through it. And so he's just like, ah! And it's Vision and Wanda versus Proxima Midnight and the other one. So they have a little fight, and they're not doing so hot. But they do manage to like put up a fight, you know what I mean? And Vision gets badly hurt to the point where he can't really help out all that much. Or it feels like Wanda has to take most of the lead to protect him and defend him. And then all of a sudden, a train appears. And who appears behind the train? None other than the new looking, okay? I don't know if I should call him Captain America, but it's Steve Rogers, all right? He has a beard now, long hair. His suit has been, has some wear and tear on it. Oh my goodness, it was so cool to see him catch that spear or whatever she threw, and then have him appear and help out. It was just so cool, so badass, dude. There's no other explanation for it. So then they show up and they start helping out, you know what I mean? They start doing their thing. And I think eventually they stop them. They escape, the aliens escape, and now it's them going back to Avengers HQ. I'm sure they. No. Okay, I'm all over the place. Okay, before we do any of that, it's Thor, and he meets up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and dude, I had the biggest smile on my face when I saw them all together and they're all like interacting with each other. Chris Pratt is hilarious. He does a great job of being like insecure and funny and like trying to be the leader. Thor does a great job like going back and forth with him. I think all of their chemistry together was just hilarious and worked. It just all worked really, really well. So anyways, Thor essentially tells them that where they need to go is Nidavellir, where they can create a weapon for Thor to kill Thanos. And Rocket is very interested. And Thor calls him a rabbit. Man, there's so many great moments and details in this movie. But they split up. So Thor, Rocket, and Groot are going to go to Nidavellir to make Thor's new weapon. And the other Guardians of the Galaxy are going to go to nowhere where the Reality Stone is being kept, because in Thor the Dark World, they kept they had the Reality Stone and they offered it up to the Collector because they didn't think it was going to be wise to keep two Infinity Stones together, which is the Tesseract and the Reality Stone. So they thought it best to separate them. So the Collector has it on nowhere. Right? And that's where Thanos is more than likely going to go. So that's why they split up. Then we get to Wanda, and then everybody starts going over to Avengers HQ. And then we get a little bit of a flashback of Gamora. And I think that this was really important. I think it was enough to understand what Gamora's connection to Thanos is, give it a little bit of backstory. I truly feel like they did a great job giving us some. I think this backstory, this flashback was essential to the movie. It gave us a little bit of breathing room, and it also helped us fully understand what Thanos has been doing. And this isn't just whatchamacallit. Like, he's not collecting the Infinity Stones on a whim. He's not doing it like, you know, it's a hell of a lot. Well, he thinks. Thanos thinks it's a hell of a lot better to snap his fingers and wipe out half of humanity than it is to invade their planet, destroy and kill like half of the people by chance, and then that's it, you know? What else is there? So we get to see how Gamora kind of became Thanos' daughter, adopted daughter, and we see a moment between her and Peter Quill, Star-Lord, where she asks him, if Thanos ever gets a hold of me, promise me you'll kill me. And he's like, what? No, I don't want to. But she makes him promise. He agrees. And they get their first on-screen kiss. And I thought that was really... Darn it, dude. Like, I was like, yes. Like, that was such a good moment. There's no telling that's, like, their first kiss, but, like, on screen that we've seen, the audience, I thought it was pretty damn good. And then they add a joke from Drax where he's, like, invisible or whatnot. I thought that was hilarious. Moving on, we see that the Guardians show up to nowhere, and they see the Collector being interrogated by Thanos. And he's basically telling him to give up the stone. And the Collector is saying he sold it. He doesn't know what it is. Basically, kind of like Thanos doesn't have what he wants, so he only has the two stones, and now it's going to be the Guardians versus Thanos with only two stones. That's what they think. So then Peter is trying to like tell everybody what to do. He says, Mantis, Gamora, you go right. And then Gamora just goes out there without a thought, starts running towards him, and she like stabs him, misses, and then hits him in the neck, and Thanos is down. And that's it, dude. And that's it. And Gamora starts crying. She starts weeping. She gets all sad and emotional about his death. And everybody's like, whoa, Gamora did it. Like, she saved the universe. And then we hear in the background, like, as a voiceover, a narrator is like, are those tears I sense in you, daughter? I always knew you cared. And so it is revealed that he has the Reality Stone. He made up that whole scenario, that whole scene. He covered up what reality really was and basically forced her to show up, and he knew that she would. And that's when everybody starts going after Thanos. Drax gets turned into cubes. Mantis gets turned into, like, string spiraled or whatever. And now it's Quill versus Thanos. And he's basically telling him to let Gamora go. And Gamora says, not him, Peter. And she's basically saying that he has to kill her. And Peter doesn't want to do it. And Thanos is now, like, urging him to do it. He's like, do it! You know what I mean? She's told you to do it, didn't she? And so, you know, Peter is reluctant. He doesn't want to do it. But he pulls the trigger anyways. And then it turns to bubbles. And then his gun turns to bubbles. And Thanos leaves with Gamora. And now they're left by themselves. And so we cut back to Captain America and Vision and everybody arriving at the Avengers HQ. And they basically stick it up Thunderbolt Ross's ass. Then tell him that, like, we're here to fight. And if you want to get in our way, we're going to fight you too. So, we're here. And so, essentially, what they're trying to do, all of them as a team, including Bruce Banner, who's now a part of them, is they're trying to get Vision's stone out of his head, not destroy the stone itself. So, what they're trying to say is that there is a chance for Vision to still be around, to still be alive, without the Mind Stone attached to him. But in order for that to happen, they need to go to a lab, somewhere secure, where they can remove it safely. And they can't do it at Avengers HQ. They'll be stopped by basically the federal government for, you know, being criminals. So Steve Rogers has an idea, and in comes Wakanda, baby. Dude, after Black Panther earlier that year, dude, the Wakanda hype is real, dude. It was so awesome that they have, like, a huge prevalent role in the story to be, like, such help to Steve Rogers and everybody in the world, basically. So then they're getting ready for war, and we see Bucky gets a new vibranium arm, and we also see that we basically learn that they're bringing everybody together in Wakanda to fight. And then we get a look at Doctor Strange being tortured by Ebony Maw to give up the stone. Tony and Peter save Doctor Strange, and they kill Ebony Maw by opening a hole into outer space, and he gets sucked out. So then, Doctor Strange is kind of asking Tony if he can, like, fly them home. To which Tony's like, well, let's take the fight to Thanos. He won't be expecting it. You know, he'll basically come to Earth and kill us anyways. So if we take it over to him, we have a chance. You know what I mean? We have a way of winning. And so Doctor Strange essentially says, okay, we'll go to him, but If it's between you, the Time Stone, or Peter Parker, I'm going to let both of you die because I can't give up this stone. I can't do it. So then Tony knights Spider-Man into the Avengers, and I thought that was such a cool moment for me. Anyways, he knights him as an Avenger, and now they're going to be approaching the planet soon. I think after that point, we get... I think we get Gamora and Nebula on Thanos' ship. No, we get Gamora yelling at Thanos about, like, you can't wipe out half of the population. It's not right. And he's just like, I'm the only one who knows that it's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So then he shows her Nebula, how she tried to kill him on his ship and whatnot. And he basically uses Nebula as leverage against Gamora to help him find the Soul Stone, another Infinity Stone. And so eventually she caves in, and she's like, all right, I know where it is. Let's go. They go to Vormir, and it's there that the Soul Stone lies. And they go up to, what's it called? Like a top of a mountain type of a thing. And there they see the Red Skull. So I thought that was such a cool moment, bringing in the Red Skull. Like, having him be the one to, like, protect the Soul Stone, or, like, that's where he teleported to. I thought that was so cool that they did that. He's now, like, the Soul Stone Keeper, and he's basically tells them that to get the Soul Stone, you have to give up that which you love. Who you love. A soul for a soul. And Thanos turns around and he looks at Gamora, and Gamora laughs in his face like, you love no one. Nothing. And then it turns out Thanos does love Gamora. And she gets thrown off a cliff, dies, and Thanos gets the Soul Stone. And there's such a sad moment to it. It's really awful, you know what I mean? But I do like the slow pace of it. I do like that they took their time to, like, you know, basically put together that Thanos is willing to do whatever it takes, and this is a huge sacrifice for him, giving up Gamora. So anyways, with Gamora dead, he basically gets the Soul Stone now, and now he only needs 2 more stones. And so next, I think we cut to... we get a look at Rocket and Groot and Thor as they're going to Nidavellir, and giving one of the best performances he's ever given. Thor, Chris Hemsworth, man, he is the only Avenger in this movie. And what I mean by that is everybody else is trying to prevent Thanos from doing something. But Thor is trying to avenge his killed comrades, Loki, Heimdall, the other Asgardians that were murdered on the ship, you know? Trying to stop them. He's the only Avenger. He's avenging them. He's avenging Heimdall. He's avenging Loki. He's avenging all of them. You know, he's already had the worst thing happen to him. He has to step up, you know? So anyways, Thor and Rocket have a heart-to-heart where Thor gives a great monologue about how he has nothing left to lose. You know, if he dies, then if he's wrong about fate being on his side or about him being capable of stopping Thanos, then he's got nothing else to lose at this point, you know? And so they show up to Nidavellir, and the basic idea is that it's supposed to be the heart of a dying star, so it's not like blazing hot, it's not like a full-on sun. And that's where they're supposed to create the weapon. But they come across a gauntlet that looks like Thanos' gauntlet, and they meet Eitri the dwarf, who can help them make the weapon that they need. And they realize that each recreated Thanos' glove, his gauntlet, in order to hold all the Infinity Stones. And he explains to us that if he thought that if he made whatever Thanos wanted, you know, he would spare everyone's lives. But instead he gave him the gauntlet, and he killed everyone anyways except for him, cut off his arms. And Thor basically tells him that, like, it's your mind that matters, not your body. You helped create all the greatest weapons of the world, and now you can help me create a weapon that can kill Thanos. So then, I think we cut to over to, I can't remember if we cut over to Doctor Strange and them showing up on Titan, or if we show up to whatchamacallit? I think to Wakanda, if everybody shows up to Wakanda. I think they show up to Wakanda first. So Captain America, Vision, Scarlet Witch, everybody, they show up to Wakanda and they meet up with everyone, how they're all working together. We get a little Bucky Steve reunion, and they're all going to get ready for the invasion of, the basic invasion of the aliens or whatnot, coming after Vision and the Mind Stone. And so Shuri is basically going to be the one to extract it from him, and they just need a little bit of time, and now it's going to get ready to go to work. And then we cut over to Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and they face off. They land on Titan, and then they face off against the Guardians of the Galaxy, Drax, Peter, Mantis. They all start, like, fighting each other. And I gotta say, Peter kind of holds his own a little bit, you know what I mean? Stops Iron Man, stops Spider-Man. I thought it was pretty funny. And then Drax is, like, fighting the cloak of levitation or whatever. I thought that was so funny. He's like, die, blanket of death. They have a little moment. They fight a little. They talk. They yell at each other, whatever. And then they basically explain that they were the ones that helped Thor. And Doctor Strange is like, where's Thor now? And then we cut over to Thor as he starts getting ready to reawaken the heart of the dying star. And so Rocket's like, dude, you know how hard it is to, like, open this thing? All you got is this little pod. And then he starts throwing around Rocket on the thing. And then they restart the Nidavellir. They restart the dying star up. And now it's going to be hot enough. It's on, but the basic mechanism itself is destroyed. And they need it open in order to reheat the metal. And that'll create the weapon that he needs, called Stormbreaker. And it can, like, summon the Bifrost, which is like he can teleport anywhere in the world or whatnot. So anyways, Thor says he's going to handle it. And he goes flying after the mechanism, and he's going to hold it open and stuff like that. So then we go back to Wakanda, where the aliens arrive, and now they're starting to gather up to attack. And now we basically see the Wakandans facing off against the aliens and whatnot. And so the war is about to begin. It's about to go down. And we see, we basically see everybody, like, fighting or, like, getting in the beginnings of the fight or whatnot. I don't remember how deep into the fight that we get. It's like, because we kind of cut back and forth between Wakanda to Titan with Thanos, so I don't remember how long that takes. But let's just say that Wakanda starts fighting, and we're deep into it now. They're facing off against those dog things, and it's becoming a huge problem, a huge fight. So then we cut back over to Titan, and Thanos arrives, and Doctor Strange confronts him. And he basically tells them his whole story, how he could have saved his home world if they had just done some genocide, you know what I mean? Fair and dispassionate, you know what I mean? Not only the rich people survive, but the poor people do too, and everybody will be fair, essentially. And Doctor Strange is like, yeah, that doesn't work for us, you know? And Thanos is like, us? So now it's everybody versus Thanos. It's everybody in Wakanda versus the aliens and whatnot. And it just becomes a huge throwdown fight, okay? And I do have to say, the Thanos fight in particular on Titan with Iron Man and Spider-Man and everyone, it all comes together brilliantly. Like, the Guardians come together, they fight. Oh my gosh, it just, everything is flowing so well. So, what basically happens is, they come together with the plan, they stop Thanos briefly, you know what I mean? And then Peter Quill, Star-Lord, figures out that Thanos killed Gamora. And that's why he has the Soul Stone. Nebula explains it to them. And he freaks out. And he starts punching Thanos in the face. And as they're about to get the gauntlet off of Thanos, he snaps out of his little trance or sleepy time. And he gets his gauntlet back. And the world is now doomed. So everybody kind of gets beaten up by the Power Stone or whatnot, and now it's going to be a new level of the fight. It's going to be, I think, Doctor Strange versus Thanos, and then Iron Man versus Thanos. Meanwhile, the fight on Wakanda is getting more and more drastic. They're facing a lot more enemies, a lot more of those alien dog things to face and fight. And it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. So eventually Wanda comes down from where Vision is, where they're about to get the stone. And she saves everybody from getting hurt or whatnot. And now a new level of the fight has started where the aliens have gone up for Vision. They start fighting and now they have to go help Vision and whatnot. So then next, we cut to Doctor Strange versus Thanos, and this was such a cool fight. Like, I've never seen Doctor Strange fight as on next level as he does in this movie. And then, whatchamacallit? We see Iron Man versus Thanos, and, dude, this is the moment he's been dreading and waiting for, and they both recognize each other. He goes, Stark. And Tony is like, you know me? He says, I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge. And then they start fighting. And long story short, Tony does a great job. But he's not enough to defeat him. Especially with the gauntlet. So, Tony gets stabbed by Thanos. And he's basically left to die. But Doctor Strange saves him by giving up the Time Stone. And so he gets the Time Stone, and now we're in the situation that we are now. So he gets the Time Stone. Meanwhile, Thor is holding open the star, and he's getting destroyed by it. And cut back to Wakanda, we see that everybody's being overwhelmed by the dogs. They can't hold it together. No, there's too many of them. Stuff like that. And then finally, Thor, he holds it open long enough to create the weapon, but there's no handle for it. And so Groot, being the best Groot that he could possibly be, he creates the handle out of his own wood, and then he saves Thor's life. And then with that, Thor arrives via the Bifrost, shows up in Wakanda, and saves everybody with his new axe, his new hammer, kills a huge amount of them, and then you hear that Avengers theme song, dude. Oh my gosh, there's just so much in this movie. I could go on forever. I literally could just break it down, but I'm not going to do that. I think it's better for you to just watch it. Anyways, Thor arrives and he yells, "Bring me Thanos," jumps in the air, lightning and all, and destroys the ground, killing all the things, the dogs or whatnot. So now, we continue on forward and whatnot, and we basically see that Vision is taking on the big alien and then like the little smaller sword alien guy or whatever. And so Banner shows up in the Hulkbuster suit to take on the big one, and he's trying to get Hulk to get out, but it just won't. So then he's all by himself taking on the big one, and he wins. He basically kills the thing. But Vision is still in trouble, and so Captain America shows up, beats the other alien, and then Vision stabs it in the end, and everybody's all well and good. And then finally, now that Thanos has the Time Stone, he shows up in Wakanda, and it's everybody left to stop him against Vision. And now we get to the hard part. Wanda has to sacrifice and destroy the stone now before it's out of Vision. Basically kill Vision before Thanos can get his hands on it. And so we basically see Steve, we see Bruce Banner, we see Falcon, we see War Machine, we see everybody fight against Thanos. And they all they try their best, it's not enough. Wanda holds him back long enough to destroy the stone, and boom! She destroys the Mind Stone. Huge moment. Powerful moment. And Vision's dead. And Thanos basically tells her that, like, he understands. He knows what it's like, you know? And she says, "You could never understand." But after all that we've seen, what he's done to get here, he does kind of understand, you know? So then finally, he uses the Mind Stone to reverse time, bring back Vision before he was killed, and then take Vision for himself. He brings him back to life just to kill him again, dude. Takes the Mind Stone out of his head and puts it into the gauntlet, and now he has all 6 Infinity Stones. And so, with all 6, he's basically undefeatable, even more than he already was. But that's when Thor throws his new weapon against Thanos. He shoots like a beam of the Infinity Stones at him, and it's not enough, and it stabs Thanos right to the chest. And Thor gets his Avengers Heimdall and Loki. This is his moment, dude. And he goes, "I told you, you die for that." And he stabs, he pushes it even further into the chest, deep in that chest, you know what I mean? And Thanos is like, on his last breath, he's like, you should have gone for the head. And then snaps his finger, dude. And then the rest is history, you know? He wakes up in this kind of similar to the Soul Stone. He sees little Gamora. She says, "Did you do it?" He said, "Yes." "What did it cost?" He said, "Everything." And then we get a look into today, and we see his arm is all messed up from using the gauntlet. We see his chest is destroyed. And then he escapes using the Space Stone. He teleports away, leaving Thor's axe behind. And then we see him kind of like, "What did you do?" And then we see Steve wake up, and he's kind of like, "Where'd you go, Thor? Where'd you go?" And then we see Bucky turn to ash. And we see half of the world, half of our heroes, turn to ash. And then, unfortunately, we see Spider-Man turn to ash. We see all the majority of the Guardians turn to ash. So all of them are now in pieces. They're turned to ash now. And it's basically implied that now Thanos did it. He wiped out half the population. And we're left pondering in this loss. And then finally, we get a look at Thanos on like a garden, a farm or whatever. He's basically looking at the sunset or the sunrise or whatever on the grateful universe, accomplishing his goal and feeling like, I did it. And that's where the movie ends. And when I tell you where that movie ended right there, dead silence in the crowd. Like, everybody was just like, oh my gosh. Like, it was quiet. You could hear a pin drop in the movie theater, dude. You're never going to get that again. It was so great. So then we get a post-credits scene with Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. And we see him call for help now that everybody's disintegrating or fading away. And, well, let's just say that he calls Captain Marvel to come help. And that's going to be the next movie before... that's going to be the movie before the next Avengers movie. So, it's a big deal. Big deal. And that's the movie, dude. Now, I feel like I could have done this breakdown or review or explanation of this movie a lot better, but basically just wanted to give you my, the bits and pieces that matters and connect the dots. But this movie, man, I still remember this movie. It's etched into my brain. It's so great. All of the bits and pieces, the action that they do, the dialogue, the scene after scene, the transitions. Everybody gets a chance to shine, and everybody that we know about gets to hang in there and get a moment. So I thought it was so cool. And everybody does such a great job. So this is the MCU movie that everybody just knows for a fact is at the top of the top. So it's just that movie, and if you haven't seen it in a while, you definitely want to go give it a watch. Its rewatchable factor is through the roof. So many great moments. So, anyways, guys, that's Avengers Infinity War. When you're watching it, and if it's your first time watching it, well, you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast, but basically it's this, like, when you're watching it, be ready to be locked in. From the beginning, you get locked in. From when Bruce arrives on Doctor Strange's doorsteps, through the roof, you're locked in. When Tony Stark gets dragged into it, you're locked in. When Spider-Man swings to the action, you're locked in. Like, the beginning is flawless. It pulls you in, and it keeps you there. It's just such a great movie. So, when you're watching Avengers Infinity War, be ready to be locked in. Once you get started watching the movie, you can't, pause it. You can't stop it. You can't be like, I've seen enough of it. You have to watch the whole thing. It's just that good. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Yeah.